From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's Just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
Day 912.
It's a day with special guest, Private Investigator Stephanie Kinney, owner and operator of C.R.O.W.N Investigation Services. Remember, if you've got a tip for Melissa, tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, undeterred and undistracted, at least until the next Amazon package is delivered, Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. Yeah, we're on first name basis with every delivery person.
Including the ones that don't deliver here, by the way.
Yeah.
Because my wife, your host, is the nicest person in the universe and leaves out a full ice chest full of full bottles of Gatorade and other drinks and cookies, pretzels, other snacks.
It's hard out there for a pimp. And when you're driving around in a fucking large-ass truck with, no air conditioning and your doors are open and you got to wear fucking shorts, brown shorts in the summer. I mean, that's just one uniform.
Well, the Postal Service guys wear those ugly, what are they, blue?
Blue, yeah. What happened a few years ago is a female mail carrier in Woodland Hills, which is a little bit south of us in the San Fernando Valley, died of hypothermia sitting in her cars, like 120. Woodland Hills is like this, upscale community that is typically...
Well, that's not hypothermia. That's like sunstroke. Hypothermia is when you die of when you're frozen.
Oh, it's the other one.
Yes.
Hypothermia is the cold. Hyperthermia is the hot.
Oh, hyperthermia.
Yeah, I said hyperthermia.
All right, I will
Get the fuck off my back.
Okay.
God damn you.
I'm sorry.
Stop correcting me. I'm always right. You know that.
I am.
Did you not get the memo where I said I am always right?
I'm going to slink away now.
I'm going to have you sign off on that and return that to HR. It's going in your file.
You're really kind of mean today.
I don't know. Mean? I am protecting my reputation that you tried to sully.
It was. You
wiener face.
You did say hyperthermia.
I did say hyperthermia.
I thought you said hypothermia.
I'm not retarded. What is wrong with you?
Oh, okay, I'm going away.
Anyway, a woman died in her car, and I was going to say hilariously, but you fucking stepped on it because is that Woodland Hills is this upscale, suburban area that is typically the hottest place on the map. Like, it'll be surface of the sun, Woodland Hills, Africa. It's bizarre.
Death Valley, yeah.
Yeah, Death Valley. It's bizarre how hot Woodland Hills gets. It's this, it's very odd. But anyway, she, died in her mail truck. And I thought, you know what? Not on my watch. So...
And I did not know that's why you started. I really didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Oh.
That's very lovely.
Okay. Wow.
I told you, folks, she is the nicest person on the planet.
Not even close, but I think that's funny you didn't know why I started doing that. I experimented with different coolers and finally found the right size Coleman cooler. I put, Gatorade, sometimes water, depending on what we have, but I always have little Gatorade bottles, different flavors. I get ice at different places for good prices, and I put a 7-pound bag of ice. I put 3.5 pounds a day. It keeps it, cool on the porch. And then I started putting little snacks because I saw people who did that and thought that was such a great, raise the bar.
That's really cool. I mean, and it's tempting too. Every time I walk out on the porch, I want to grab a pack of Oreos or pretzels or something.
I try to mix it up too. I do have sweet and savory. We have like grandma's cookies, nuts, raspberry cookies, Oreos, like producer Mark said, Pillsbury soft baked ones. Those are never a temptation for me because I like the crunchy hard cookies. But then we also have like Cheetos and Doritos and Lay's barbecue chips. And
wait a minute, did you just say some of those cookies that are out there are soft?
Yeah.
Oh, Now I'm really going to be tempted. See, we're like
most of those are gone.
We're really different in that
we are completely opposite.
I like really soft chocolate chip cookies, and Melissa likes them really crunchy,
crunch in my
and
mouth.
I'm not supposed to eat that stuff, and it's like,
who is? Children, maybe.
Okay.
None of us are supposed to eat them, and they're very tiny. They're the size of a quarter or something, or $0.50.
I love soft chocolate chip cookies.
Anyway, if you keep talking like that, we're not going to stay married. Not going to stay married. So I did want to say thank you to Tipster Allison, who sent us a box of amazing things. There were 2 cowbells, one red, one purple. The red one's going in producer Mark's headquarters because he has the red phone hotline, and I'm keeping the purple one. That's the only thing producer Mark gets from the box, because everything else is for me and Siren. There's amazing pencils. I have a thing for pencils, especially if they say something funny on them. And there are some pencils that say "bitch, please." That's got to be for Siren, right? No, it's for me. Fuck you. Oh. There is something for Siren, and it's a Kraken chew toy. So before I give it to her, I'm going to say "release the Kraken" and then give it to her, because that's something I've always wanted to do. Okay. So, well, I'm glad you're going to be happy then. Yes. Thank you, Tipster Allison, for a box of the funnest, most interesting stuff. It was really delightful. And stop sending me things, people. I don't need things. We love you. Thank you for listening. We'd love to send you things, especially if you become a patron. And we don't need things. Don't send us things. We have lots of things. We're happy with all the things we have. We just need your love and your listening to the podcast. And that's the best gift to us. But if you want to send us an email or call us with a show idea, please feel free to email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. We would love it if you could take some time to rate and even maybe sit down and write a review of the podcast for Apple Podcasts. It really does help people find us, and we're having trouble getting people finding us, because when they do, they're deliriously happy and say, "How did I not know you were around?" And I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe because I'm a terrible marketing person. But if you would also like to call us with a show idea, please feel free. It's anonymous tip line, 832-847-7837. So you can always call us there. And I have no idea how to do Patreon. Producer Mark, can you tell us how to do that? Sure. And we've got stuff that we'll send you. We do. We have some great swag. Yeah, there's different levels. And for as little as $2 a month, you can become a patron of the podcast by just going to patreon.com. That's Patreon. I always spelled it incorrectly. patreon.com/justthetipsters, and learn all about it. Yes, we appreciate, and we have new patrons, and we have new subscribers on the YouTube channel, which I don't understand, but God bless you people. I know Tipster Laura subscribed. We have another couple of subscribers that have happened in the last few weeks. I've totally forgotten, but I will go back and find your name, because we're grateful for those of you that subscribe on any service that you can listen to the podcast. I'm fascinated by those who listen on YouTube. So I think that's pretty interesting. I think it is too, because basically you're sitting there with our logo in front of you, right, and listening to the podcast. It's very exciting, very exciting. That's why I'm so fascinated by the people that do that. And before we get to this week's interview, which is a really terrific story, I did want to say this, and producer Mark said, you need to talk about this. And I thought, you know what? He's right. It's a difficult time, and I was sort of kidding in the intro when I said day 912. It just sometimes feels that way, even though we are blessed and have a great life and a wonderful place to be in lockdown and not really without things. The few things that we can't get in our lives are things that we don't, this is a great lesson in letting go. It's things I don't have to have, things that we can live without and live really well without. It's not that we want to, but this is what's happening now. And we want to keep as many of us safe and healthy as possible. If one of us is hurting, all of us is hurting, and all of us are hurting, and there's a lot of people hurting right now. So sometimes these stories are more important than ever. And this one I couldn't even explain the entire story to producer Mark without crying. So this young man, Jose Nunez, was on this mission to buy socks for his grandfather in Albuquerque. and he went to an ATM, to get money out, and he was helping his grandfather purchase socks and look online and try and find the right ones. And I mean, he's just this, family-oriented 19-year-old college kid. So he goes to this Wells Fargo branch of the bank in Albuquerque, and he gets out and he's by himself. There's no one else there. And he sees a large clear plastic bag on the ground, and there are stacks of 50s and 20s in this clear plastic bag. And he's like, well, the bank's not open. It's a Sunday. No one else is here. Am I being punked? He's looking around. He's like, is this a test? I don't know what's happening. But this is what this 19-year-old college kid who's working his ass off, what he does is he calls the police immediately. And he sits and protects the money. He said it took him 5 minutes to get there. They got there in 5 minutes. And, they were like, oh, okay. It turns out that, an outside vendor who was supposed to stock the ATM just left the money, didn't put it in the ATM. So
That's a real Phi Beta Kappa, right?
Yeah, I don't understand how. I hope that person has been reassigned to another job, like cleaning the toilets, because he should have been in big shit trouble. So he protects the money for 5 minutes till they get there, and they take the money and they take it back to the station and they count $135,000. And this kid, his parents, came to the States in the 1990s, and they worked in onion fields. And I mean, his parents are just, Carmen and Jose, his dad, are, I mean, they have like 3 or 4 kids. The grandfather lives with them. They all pitch in and help. He's going to college. He finished his first year of college. And that's the part that just, my heart just like cracked right the fuck open, because he wants to be a crime scene investigator. So he's going to school for criminal justice, and he wants to be a crime scene investigator. And I thought, wow, that's pretty fucking awesome. So he could have taken this money and no one would have known, and it never dawned on him. He never thought 1 second about taking it. He thought, this is what is in my head from my dad. Stolen money is never going to last. It's not going to make you happy. Work hard for what you get. Be proud of working hard. Save your money for what you want. I mean, helping his grandfather find the right socks on a Sunday. This is what this 19-year-old kid's doing. So when Jose Nunez graduates, I hope that he gets offers from every police agency in the entire state of Arizona or New Mexico or California or the United States.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a gem of a crime scene investigator.
I got to believe the local authorities, somebody there has probably already told them, you know what, son, when you get out of college, just give us a call.
They are. You're exactly right, Producer Mark. He's gotten an internship. The police department has, awarded him with a plaque. Several businesses in the area, are offering things for him. I mean, this is one of those instances where you do something good and people pay attention, and it works out better for you than it could have ever worked out if you took $135,000. You couldn't sleep. You'd probably, eat a hole in your stomach with stress. It just, I'm just so overwhelmed with a good story. I just had to mention that. And the fact that he wants to be a crime scene investigator is just, that makes him an even, a more spectacular dude. So yay, Jose Nunez. God bless you, starting your second year of college, and you're a cool dude. You're a really cool dude. I'm grateful that there is hope for the future, and that hope is named Jose Nunez. So I'm excited about that. So this episode is an interesting interview with a private investigator I met through a friend, and her ambition, her passion for solving cases in general, but this case was remarkable. And I thought I need to have her on the podcast. And at the time, this has been in the making for a while. The person that was the focus of her case was still missing. It's a young man named Abdi Sharif who he's a Somali immigrant, with his family, lives with his family, close family. They all contribute to the family income. He and his sister are both employees at Target. He's been an employee for 2.5 years. He was a high school senior, and just an all-around good guy. Every picture you see of him, the smile is so big you think his little face is going to crack. He was a small kid for his age. He looked younger than his years, and not immature. In those eyes, you can see a really deep old soul. It just happened to be in a young, small body, and he seemed like just a spectacular kid. Loved his family, loved school, loved his job, but was still a kid. And we don't know what happened, but we know it wasn't good. And he was missing until last Saturday. And we had been trying to set up a time to interview Stephanie for several weeks. We had several times on the books and things came up. She's busy, and not just with Abdi's case, but with other things too. But she was focusing mainly on Abdi being missing. She lives 2.5 hours away from Des Moines. Her investigation services, C.R.O.W.N investigation, and it stands for Crime Revolving Outside of World Norms, which I think is amazing. Such a great name to name your company. And she is on the board of directors for the Quad City Missing Persons Network. I mean, this is what she does, and she does it in spades. And she would take many trips. I mean, she's a wife, a mom, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a community member, and she would drive 2.5 hours one way every week to go to Des Moines to look for Abdi. I mean, it was amazing what she did. And we were going to interview her last Saturday, and Abdi's remains were found. And she texted me right away and said, I am on my way to Des Moines with the family, and remains were found. We don't know for sure if it's him, but all indicators are that it's him. And he had been found by kayakers in the Des Moines River at Prospect Park. And his feet and legs were sticking out of the river. And he had apparently been in the river for a long time, maybe frozen over. A very bad snowstorm was raging when he went missing, walking out of Target, his place of employment, and never being seen again. And 4 miles away is where he was found. So Stephanie has worked her butt off, and she still has a lot of work to do, and she knows that. And this case isn't over. He's been found, but we don't know how he got there and why. Stephanie probably does know. She has a lot of information, and she is working on getting that information out. So we hope you enjoy this interview with Stephanie Kinney. So we are really excited this week to have with us Stephanie Kinney. And I met Stephanie through a unusual portal in both of our lives, and we have a common friend. And this friend helps Stephanie, or helps people like Stephanie work on cases. Stephanie is a private investigator, and I met her because of her passion for a case that she is still working on. And so she's limited in what she can say at this point, because the case has changed drastically in the last week from a search and rescue to a recovery. He was found. Her client's family, their loved one was found. So, but before we get to the case of Abdi Sharif, I just want to know everything I can about Stephanie, because she's so fascinating. First, I just have to tell you, and it's not important, but I'm going to tell you, she's exquisitely beautiful, and I hate her. And if she, were not as intelligent as she is, it would be easy to let her slide by, but she's beautiful and brilliant and passionate and accomplished, and I already, adore her, as you can probably tell. But I want to know about you. So before becoming a private investigator, you had a career in law enforcement. Where was that?
Thank you, first of all. Oh gosh, let's see. I started back, I think in 2004. I became like a reserve police officer, and just to kind of get my feet wet in the industry. And really figure out if it was something that I wanted to do. And, you know, I was going to college, and actually the chief of police in my local town was our teacher, and he really, really encouraged me and pushed me to join and see if this is something that I was really wanting to go into. And so, you know, I did. I went off on a whim, and I applied and got accepted. And, geez, I was on the force for probably going on almost on 5 years. Very many ups and downs, but it was definitely something that I knew that I was going to stay with. However, I wasn't such a big fan of patrol. I was more of like investigating. Like, I love to do the evidence, and I love to, you know, look deeper into cases, which, you know, being on patrol, you can't really do a lot of that. Yes, you can help assist. However, it takes a long time to become a detective.
Right.
Especially in, like, big communities.
Was this in Iowa?
Yeah, this was in Iowa. In DeWitt, Iowa is where it all started. And so I ended up actually getting asked to be part of what's called ICAC SWAT team. It's Internet Crimes Against Children.
Yeah.
And so I started working with another officer in that kind of industry field part where I was the decoy. You know, I was one that they took photos of, and we sent it to forensics to make me look like I'm a 13, 14-year-old.
Probably didn't take long because you're this beautiful, tiny little thing. But anyway.
But oh my gosh, you would not believe the way that this it was not good. I mean, it wasn't good. It made me look like I had a fat face. Like, they made me look like I was young, you know. And I was like, okay, well, whatever we have to do. And so we'd use these photos to lure in pedophiles that were after, you know, young kids on social media. And, you know, I loved that and loved being a part of that. So I stuck with that for a while, and we were able to bring in quite a few
predators.
Yeah, predators that you wouldn't expect would be predators.
Right.
You know, people that kids trust, pastors,
right.
sisters. You know, it was incredibly disheartening, but, you know, on the flip side, very rewarding as well, because we were able to keep, you know, do as much as we can to keep kids safe.
That would be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it was tough, but I mean, you know, it's always been in my blood to, you know, do stuff to help people, and, you know, I kind of got stuck with that.
Yeah, I should mention Stephanie is the founder of C.R.O.W.N Investigations in Iowa, and one of the things that just went straight to my soul is your mission statement, and that's a constant reminder to provide truthful results that improve the lives of others. I mean, that can't be a better mission statement ever. But if you are involved in law enforcement or private investigation, that's an amazing mission statement right there. So you were on the force for 4 or 5 years, and when did you think, I want to transfer into the private sector?
Well, it was actually I just started I started my business back in the beginning of 2018. You know, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And that everybody should take any opportunity that you are given. And so I was actually given an opportunity to go and speak, kind of like around the world, basically, on PTSD. And, well, it turns out that I ended up meeting what again changed my direction of career or life in any way, shape, or form. I ended up meeting an individual that was also speaking at this conference named Frank Shankwitz. I met him back at the hotel after the conference was over. He was actually staying at this hotel, the same one that I was staying at. And I wasn't one to go out with speakers after these conferences, because I just don't. Like, I don't care.
Right.
It's not that I don't care. I just don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not.
Yeah,
and
I gotcha.
We just have different interests.
You're allowed to say no.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the hotel, and I'll get my own dinner, and I'll have a Bud Light, and just kind of chill, you know, to myself.
Right.
And he was kind of the same guy. And so I ended up meeting him, and it turns out he was the creator and founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Wow.
And then once again, like me just being who I am, I was always skeptic. I'm like, yeah, sure you are. You know, this cowboy guy comes and sits next to me and tips his hat to me, and I'm thinking, yeah, right. So here I am.
Hello,
like,
darling.
Hello, ma'am. How are you? Can you sit here? And I'm like, sure, I guess. You know, and he's a true, gentle cowboy, but I'm like, yeah, sure you are. And so here I am in like the corner with my cell phone, like trying to pull up who's the creator and founder of Make-A-Wish, like figure out if it's really like who I am. I'm always skeptic. And it turns out it was. And Frank, he was a retired homicide detective for the Arizona State Patrol, Highway Patrol. And so we started talking about how he got started on his journey and how he started to Make-A-Wish and all this other stuff. And of course, we had the law enforcement, you know,
connection.
Yeah, that credibility. And it was like, wow, that's neat. And it's like, geez, you just, what do I do? Like, awesome. I have a forever friend. And like, you know, we'd still talk, we talk in like cop codes. We'd be like, yeah, 10-4, are you 10-20? Like,
10-100. Yeah.
It turns out like at the next conference, he was at the same conference. And I was like, geez, you know, crazy. You know, clearly there's a reason why we were always meeting at these places. And so one day he had called me up and he was like, Stephanie, you know, I don't trust many people as well as, you know, you don't either. And I really am looking for a manager. And, you know, he had asked me to come and if I'd travel with him and take basically care of him because he's in his 70s. And not take care of him, but, you know.
Right.
Do I have his back?
You're his wrangler.
Yes. And so if people want to book him, and that way I can do checks to actually see if they're legit conferences and, you know, just stuff like that. And we became a team. And so I ended up working with Frank for, a couple of years, up until probably maybe a year ago, actually. No, 2 years ago. And I was actually in his movie called Wishman that is now on Netflix. It's the story of his life and how Make-A-Wish became Make-A-Wish. And I totally encourage you to watch it. And I got to meet so many incredible people, you know, during my travels. But I also, you know, coming home to have like these breaks and stuff where I go a week or two without traveling with Frank, and I still needed to have that feeling of passion and purpose. I still needed to feel like I was doing something that made me feel the same way I did when I was, you know, traveling and talking to people and meeting new people. And so I decided that, you know, why not become a private investigator where I can still work in law enforcement because that's where my heart is, but also be my own boss and actually do investigative work. I mean, what more could you ask for?
That does sound like the perfect thing for you,
right?
Because your passion for this case is one of the things I found. You know, besides the fact that you're, you know, outwardly beautiful, you're inwardly beautiful because your passion for this case was palpable. I mean, it was just coming through. It's like it comes out your pores. You don't have a choice. So is this around the time that you were on the board of directors of the Quad City Missing Persons Network?
No, nope. So when I started the business, and, you know, of course it's a process, and you have to go and not only get your business up and running before you even get your PI license in my state, but like I was out on a whim, not even knowing for sure if I was going to be able to get my license. So I had to establish the business, even though not having the license at the time, because I had to have proof that I had a business to get my license.
That's fun.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, so it was like, man. And then, of course, I started looking into ways, you know, I had been out of law enforcement for a few years, so I needed to get my feet wet. I needed to really learn on the different laws as things have changed.
Right.
And, you know, all my best friends were still, you know, in law enforcement and stuff. And so I still had a very incredible, like, support system. And actually, like, the chief of police was my neighbor here in Clinton, where I live currently. So it was like, this is something that I'm going to do, but I'm still going to be able to travel with Frank, and, you know, when I want or can, when we have different events going on. And so I looked into joining associations. So I'm like on the board for, you know, the Iowa Association of Private Investigations out of Des Moines. And like I started going to the conferences and stuff and learning the techniques behind, you know, the PIs and different things that they used, and then I started looking into like missing persons, because that was really where my heart, for some reason, like always led me, was missing persons. Like you can specialize in so many different things, and you can do so many things as a PI,
right.
But I wanted to have something that I pushed for and like really marketed, and something I've specialized in, even though I can do all of those things like infidelity and domestic cases and stuff like that, but I really wanted to specialize in one particular thing.
Which is really smart. Yeah, it's a passion and a purpose for you.
Yeah, for sure. And so I decided to do missing persons, and so I connected with Dennis Harker, who had, it was a very big case about 5-6 years ago on his son who went missing, and I kind of, it always stuck with me, and they ended up, finding his son a few days later in the river. And he started up the nonprofit of the Quad City Missing Person Network, and I reached out to him and let him know that I'm here, and if he ever needed me for any services, that I'm happy to help. And so he was kind of intrigued and really wanted to meet with me as well, and they were looking for one more person to add to their board. And after meeting with them during one of their monthly meetings, they had asked me, and of course, being part of nonprofit boards, you have to all agree. And, so they asked me, and I, of course, would never say no. I'm on a couple of nonprofits, but nothing like something that I'm specializing in. So I, of course, accepted. And so I've been on that since, probably almost a year. And we help with search and rescue, and we set up training get people qualified in search and rescue, and obviously help people in our community, and if we need to dig more into, because sometimes police officers and police departments have their hands full, and
manpower.
What's nice about this is that a lot of people think that it's a law that you have to wait 24 to 48 hours when somebody goes missing, and that's not the case at all. It's the policy of their department, and within the first 3 or 4 hours of somebody missing or abducted, I mean, your chances of survival, or anything for that matter, is very slim, and all your evidence you might as well kiss out the door.
Well, let's say that's the most important thing you might say this entire episode, because people, if someone in your family goes missing, a loved one, a friend, you don't have to wait. No matter what you've heard, no matter what TV show, and in some cases it's not pretty. Sometimes you got to go down to the police station in person and pound on the counter, on the desk. But you do what you have to do.
You do. Yeah. Sometimes you do. And like I said, I understand the overpour of missing persons, or people that call in and say my kid is missing, and the next hour or so they end up down the street at a friend's house or something and forgot to tell their mom, or stuff like that. But I still think
too bad
that it still needs. I mean, it needs to be jumped on right away.
Absolutely.
I don't think you need to be waiting. And I know that there was that me and Dennis were looking into changing or trying to provide, like, get a law put in place to where departments have to go within right away and start looking.
That
regardless.
would be important, really important.
Turns out there was a story back in 1982. A boy named Johnny Gosh of Des Moines area.
Oh yeah, that's a big case.
Yeah, and he, and so it turns out like his mom, Noreen, had passed a bill, I believe in 92 or 94, where it says that in any missing person that all departments have to act now. And so I'm not really sure why that's not ever put into play. And I'm not sure what, I'm looking further into that, because definitely none of Iowa, if it just goes for people in Iowa or the departments in Iowa, I'm not sure why that bill is not put into play. And I think that it just really needs to be looked more into on my end, which I am doing. But
that's one of the things that
that's one of the
That's one of the things that bothers me the most in the couple of years we've been doing this podcast is I don't know why, if there's something like CODIS where you can look in a national database to see people's fingerprints or DNA, why is there not some sort of ability for law enforcement agencies to connect and to hey, this person was in my county, but now they were found in this other county, and yet whose jurisdiction, and how can we, there's so many things, ego basically involved in my mind that makes.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And that is super, super sad. And, but not, I'm not just, I've experienced that.
Of course you have. Yeah. And I know you either can or can't talk about that, but let's go back to January 17th of this year. So this interview was going to be over the last couple of weeks, and Stephanie is very busy and keeps getting assignments and other things, and was working on this case exclusively like a mad woman. That was one of the things I adored most about you, is your passion about Abdi's case. So, this was supposed to be an interview about, if you know where Abdi is, please call us, or please call Stephanie, or please call, the Des Moines PD. But now it's turned into Abdi was found in a very unusual way, and in the outcome none of us wanted, other than the fact that the family, and there's no closure for any of this. There's no closure, but at least the family has an answer as to where, their loved one is. So January 17th, Abdi Sharif is an 18-year-old senior, and he's a Target employee. And is it 4 kids? He's one of 4 kids, Stephanie?
Yeah, he's one of, he's one of 5.
5 kids.
Yep.
And he's a Somali immigrant and a hardworking family. And he and his sister both work at Target, and they contribute. When you're a teenager and you're working a job, it's mostly for you to, buy the stuff you want or your school clothes. He and his sister contribute to the family's income by working at Target. So it's not just some, teenage kid who wants a new skateboard. This is a tight family, and he's loved.
Mom was a single mother, yeah. So
yeah.
They helped contribute to the bills, and he was very all about taking care of his family, and they were very important to him.
Absolutely. So it's the 17th of January, and he had told his mom he had a shift at Target. So we find out later that wasn't true, but it's not so unusual because, he's a teenager. He's in an apartment or a home with his family, and he wants to get the fuck out sometimes. So
exactly.
He might go to the mall where the Target is located. He kind of hung out there a lot. He had friends there. It makes all the sense of the world. Hey, Mom, I got a shift. I got to get the fuck out of the house. And then, Mom, can you pick me up later? So he's seen at 5:30 walking on video.
I was told by a family member that it was about 5:17. He is seen walking across the parking lot to Merle Hay Road, which is across the parking lot from Target.
So he is seen walking to that road, and then there's no footage after that. So
keep in mind that this is during a snowstorm. Okay, Abdi calls his mom. The last time he was on his phone, or that made communication on his phone, was at 4:59, according to his, the call log. And it was to his sister, and he was asking her for like $1 or $2 to get a Red Bull or something, because they shared accounts. And she just kept hanging up on him. There was 4 or 5 calls with his sister. And she's like, I go, Ephra, why is there so many, why did he call you so many times? She's like, well, I kept hanging up on him because he kept calling me and it was annoying. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So he's seen outside of Target, and everyone's like, there's got to be footage. Well, let me tell you something, that there's not footage.
Right.
It's only footage of him standing outside of Target. And because they do have cameras outside, there's only 2 that kind of point towards the door. The rest are non-existent. They may state that in the parking lot there's cameras, and but there's not.
Right.
And there's none on the other side of anything. So anyway, so he's walking towards the intersection. And I guess he's seen walking across the street over by the U.S. Cellular building, and then gone. That was it. There was nothing else that caught him. There was no street cameras that caught him. There was no outside business cameras that caught him. Mind you that they say that, most of the cameras point down towards the door, not towards, the road,
right,
because it's for shoplifting and all this other stuff. Now, also, keep in mind that he went missing on the 17th. I came in and took the case. The family had reached out to me on the, I officially took it like on the 17th of February.
Okay.
My first trip down to Des Moines. So a lot of the cameras that, if they did come into play, they roll over.
Yeah.
The footage rolls over about a week, sometimes 2 weeks, and sometimes 30 days.
A month, right?
I am shit out of luck on my end when it comes to video footage.
Right.
Because everything's gone.
Right.
And I have to base my evidence or anything off of what the detectives are telling me, and which at the beginning, everything, I met with the detective at the Target parking lot, and he handed me a file which had like his cell phone pings, and it had, some evidence that they had recovered, and what I thought was going to be a great relationship moving forward as a department, and I can team up, and I understand their workflow. I understand that they have other things that they could be looking into, but, with me being able to spend time and dedicate myself to this case, I can certainly offer as much information as I can to help move the investigation forward.
You were a great resource if they had
Exactly.
if they had
Yeah,
taken
and
you up on
that's
it.
the way that I've always taken it. I mean, departments sometimes hire me, to go do some work for them that is out of their jurisdiction. I mean,
one
it
of
makes sense.
One of the times we were going to record
Yeah.
an episode, you had an assignment from a local police agency, and we couldn't do it then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I get that. I get that. So you have this information and that he has handed you at the beginning, and the only thing we can assume is that Abdi walked across the street and evaporated, or walked across the street and got into a vehicle, because he sure didn't walk to the 4 miles away from Target where he was found during a snowstorm. I'm going to guess that wouldn't be something he would do.
Correct. And so I know that, when they did do some research on his cell phone, they tried to pick up the cell phone pings. Obviously, I understand that these pings are not exactly accurate. The timing of them is absolutely accurate.
Okay.
Almost to the second. However, I know that there's such like a 3 to 5 mile radius of each ping. But, his first ping is towards like, I-80, I-35 interstate, which from Target to that point is a good 3 miles, or 1.5 miles one way. And then, but either way, he can't get to this location in that amount of time.
In a snowstorm.
In a snowstorm.
Yeah. So what time, at some point he posts on Snapchat?
Oh, yeah. He did that before he left. That was taken in Target, where it posted a Snapchat of him saying, I got news, like, I got bad news. To me, that was like, I didn't understand what that meant. And I, at that time, didn't know much getting into the case, who his friends, his family. Like, I didn't know so much the Islamic culture, for that matter, and I didn't understand a lot that, I just still needed to do some work on what he meant by that, and really figure out what kind of person he was. And that bad news is actually a song by Leon, or I think it's Leon Bridges.
Oh.
And Abdi was very much into music. He made his own music. He was into the beats and tones of making songs, and he loved that stuff. And so I did I did find it on when I did do like his background on data and stuff like that he had that song saved. And Bad News is called, that's what it's called. So I think people looked at, maybe the department or people looked at it as
a piece of evidence that wasn't there.
That something wasn't good, and that somehow misled the police to feel that he went missing on his own. He was
okay. I was wondering where. Okay, so let's.
But it also comes into play with text messages from that day to a lady. But
well, let's talk about that. Everything I had seen after I became aware of you and Abdi's case, the Des Moines Police Department, are just on record 174,000 times saying we feel that he went missing on his own. Correct.
And I think I'm not sure where they based that, but if I'm a guessing woman, which I don't really guess, but my gut says they were basing that information off that and some text messages that, kind of said that he wasn't going to be working at Target anymore, and that, he really wanted to give more information to somebody, but he just really didn't want to get them involved. So to me, that makes me feel that there was more in depth that he wanted to talk about, but he knew he was in trouble of some sort. But that's just me. I don't know I don't know where the department got that information or made them feel that he was missing of his own or a runaway. But I can just speak. I knew from the beginning that this wasn't a runaway situation, just based on what I had recovered and what I looked at and talking about, what type of person he was from, his friends and family.
Right.
And, I can tell if somebody's in a depressed state of mind to where they would have perhaps done something that could have harmed themselves, but not in this case.
Right.
I didn't get the feeling.
Yeah, there was no evidence of that at all. All friends and family, classmates, coworkers, they're like, he is the friendly, happy guy. There's nothing in the last several weeks. He didn't change. He didn't become morose. I mean, I was a little shocked. I mean, I guess I'm shocked every time someone goes missing and the first thing that comes up is, well, they walked away from their life. I'm like, why would you go there immediately? Why? I don't understand that.
Well, because they're like, oh, he's 18 and that he just wants to go and be by himself and really just be a teenager. And I know that's kind of in that culture that it's kind of confined. Like I don't know. It's really different from the average.
Of course. Abdi didn't seem like that kind of kid.
No, he definitely wasn't. He was more like very quiet
right.
to himself, but very, just naive, but and just really wanted to fit in. I think with the community and friends
and he did.
And he did.
He was able to have his own personality and his own culture and his own life, but yet he was able to fit in because he was such a sweet,
a loving person,
kind, open kid. I mean, you look at a picture of him and his face is just wide open.
I know. He's just it's like just an innocent little creature that you just want to squeeze.
Yes.
And that's the way the whole family is. And I'm so lucky to...
You can see that. You can see that in pictures of them. You can feel it in interviews with them and their voices. You all of that is very... You can just see that. It's all right there in front of you. And so Abdi is, when we say he's 18, that's that border of someone being an adult and someone still being a kid, and especially a young man.
In November, too. He just turned 18 in November.
Right, and he was such a... didn't, I will be honest, first pictures of him, I was like 13, 14 tops. He's small. He's like 5'4" and 120 pounds. He's not a big, giant, hulking 18-year-old football player.
Yeah.
He's
moving on. Like when you're saying something, like, so this is what when I say that this case has been challenging from the get-go, I 100% cannot express how challenging this has been, especially with this pandemic on top of it.
Right.
I get the police report, and the police report indicates he's 5'4", 120, and he is a white male.
Oh, yeah, perfectly. Okay, great. Okay. That's great.
We all know that he's not a white male, and he's 5'6", and there's a kind of a difference in that, and also it's just that was my number one thing, and so even with like on the clearing house, wherever the police post these missing persons on their site, it claims that he is a white male.
Great.
And so
that's really awful. I have a question. I mean, is this something that happens often? I mean, that could have actually...
We know it happens often.
I mean, that's amazing to me. That
I always put it down...
That could have saved his life if somebody had gotten their proper description early on. I mean...
Correct. That is a really, really big known... Like, that's a really bad... No, and I've never. I'm sure it happens, but I've not seen it happen in that. In that, I mean, that's a really big deal.
It is, and it does. It happens way more often than I can even explain. Just going through these cases, and I always put it down to bad journalism. But if a journalist can only report,
so incomplacent.
They can only report what the information they're given. So I can't blame the journalists all the time if they're given incorrect information from police reports.
No, but this would be a police report that this is the officer taking the report, and off the get-go, like here from the beginning, when Mom calls, I think at like I don't know, I think she calls 911 at like 11 o'clock at night the day he goes missing because she goes to Target at 9:30 and doesn't see Abdi and goes inside and he's not there. She doesn't know where he's at, so she's calling his phone, and then decides at 11, I need to call the police. And she's on this call with the police department for probably about 7 minutes, and they didn't come take a report that day.
Great.
They did come over, I believe, to talk to her, but they actually didn't take a report till the next day at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah,
and
that
that's
sounds...
only because Target sent an officer over to the house to check on...
A welfare check.
A welfare check because he didn't show up for work. And
right.
That's not like him.
That's really bad. I'm just going to come out and say I never want to slam law enforcement because I'm blessed to have some great relationships with detectives.
I agree. And I never ever wanted.
No,
ever.
Of course not. It's your brethren. It's your gig.
Like that is that's not good.
No.
That's not,
but it's also not unusual.
Right. And I know that they have policies and procedures in play. However, I mean, it's not in this situation, and it should have been taken seriously from the get-go, and I'm not saying that they didn't. However, my evidence and even on the police report itself, it speaks for itself.
So let's go back. It's 9:30 that evening on the 17th, and Abdi's mother is supposed to pick him up after his shift at Target. And she finds out that he didn't have a shift, and she goes to Target, and he's not there. So she, as you said, calls the police. She's on it. She doesn't wait. This isn't, I'm going to have to wait 48 hours. He's an adult now. She's on it because she knows this is not his behavior. Yes. This is not his pattern. So she doesn't really get anyone to talk to her face-to-face until the following day. What are they doing in the meantime to find him? Because as you mentioned, it's a snowstorm.
I have no idea. I'm not sure what they were doing, and I can't even try to think of what they were doing. And I'm sure they maybe circled the area. I don't know, but I know that there wasn't too many vehicles out during that time of that snowstorm because it was they had a pretty good amount at that time. So I mean, it's weird. I don't know.
So
what they were doing.
Abdi's mom finally gets to make a report the following day, which is, all that time is lost, but that's the way it goes. That's the way it is. It happens that way. So let's get to the middle of February when you're brought in. Is it because the family feels not enough is being done? And I will just tell you, every single thing I found about the case before you came in was the Des Moines PD saying, we believe he walked away on his own.
Yeah.
Every single thing. Every single thing.
Which is really not good when you're dealing with this type of a case, just because that automatically goes out to the community to not look.
That's right. That's exactly what everything I read. It was like, oh, yeah, this kid's, don't bother. Don't waste your resources.
We had evidence to believe that he is, off on his own. And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go. And then they come and turn around that they're still not ruling out foul play, or I don't even know what they did to kind of come back from saying something like that to the media. But it definitely put me in a difficult situation once again because I had to go ahead and try and change. I had to change their mind.
Everyone's mind. The entire community's mind. You had to change everyone's mind to come on board. This kid didn't walk away.
No, he definitely didn't. And so I did. I created a search party, and we all met at a location, and I had, oh my gosh, it was so great. Geez, I would say almost 200 people showed up
Wow.
on a Monday, I believe. It was on a Monday.
No, that's beautiful.
Like, some people even took off work because, I've always said, if this is my kid, I'd want somebody like me looking for him.
Yeah.
Just because I know that they give a shit.
Right.
And these people, like, they gave a shit. And they felt that something wasn't right as well. And, I just had such a huge support system from the community. And so when I held this, of course, all the media is there because it's a very talked about case. We started a Facebook page so people could bring in tips to me. And, I ended up giving the whole state, the whole county of Des Moines, my personal cell phone number, which is not something I would do. I would give them my because, but I didn't care. I
that
was like,
says a lot.
You know something, you call me anytime, you text me anytime, you email me. Here are my resources. Like, here is my life, and I am here to do something about how this happened. Like, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And I made it very well known. And so people, I think I held 3 or 4 search parties.
You searched on your own a lot? I know. You would take every weekend and go there. The weekends you didn't have your daughter?
Yep, the days that I didn't have my daughter, I'd be in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Which
is not around the corner. It's a 2.5-hour drive one way for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I can't tell you how many times in the last 4 months or so that I've spent a lot of every day that I could be, I was there.
I know. You went to great lengths to find him.
And I'd do that for anybody. I would do that for anybody.
You moved heaven and earth, yeah.
I really became such great friends with some of the people that, were around the area. And they're now my family. And not only, their family, it's just, Abdi's family is now my family. I'm forever friends. Like, we're forever together.
Right.
And I'll do as much as I can to help them in any way, shape, or form moving forward. Regardless of what the police have at the beginning, I always conduct my own investigation. I don't care what they have. I don't ask for what they have. If they want to give me stuff, then that's great. And if I have valid information that I feel that they need to know and do something and act upon now, is when I'll come to them and bother them. But I won't mess or bother the detectives unless I get a tip that is actually, credible, because they are doing their own things. I don't want to get in the way of that. And I wouldn't, So
you were looking for months around the area. You had an idea of an area, a place, how it could happen, what could happen. And I know you can't give me all the details of everything because it's still an active and open investigation. But, I was speaking to you, and we were going to have an interview. And then Saturday, May 2nd, you said, I'm waiting with the family. And we got some notification that, this might be him. So tell me how that happened.
I was cutting grass. I was like, I got to hurry up and get this grass cut because I knew that I was going to go to Des Moines on Monday and I was going to be there all week. And so I was outside doing some housework and I get a phone call, which I call my Des Moines posse. I have a group of 4 or 5 that I trust immensely with, being able to do things when I'm not in town. If I need somebody to go, look at something, or they're familiar with the area. They're more familiar with Des Moines than I am. So, I'll give them ideas to look in certain areas, and they'll do the research and find it for me. You know what I mean? So my Des Moines posse was just blowing up my phone, but of course I couldn't hear it. So I looked at my phone and I'm like, oh, shit. And I call back down. I call, and of course I hear that there was a body that had been found. Kayakers had found a body down near Prospect Park. And I instantly had that feeling of...
This is it?
This is him.
Yeah.
Because this is the area where I have been and spent a lot of my time. And I was there 2 days prior to him being found. literally, I'm standing up. My girlfriend, she took a picture of my butt, even though it wasn't like my butt. I'm standing up on these rocks, and I'm by the river, and I'm by this bridge that is literally probably a half a mile from where Abdi was found. I was on the other side of the river, and I was saying to one of my girls, one of my friends, I was like, we have to get to the other side of the river, but the only way that we could get there at that time is if by boat.
Right.
And so we were like, we went back and met one of the other posses, and then we went to a different direction. You know, it just sucks because I was literally, like, he was on the other side of the river about probably 500 feet from me.
Oh, my gosh.
I damn it.
Gosh.
You know? So, yes, kayakers did, the water was starting to lower.
Right.
And he had been found, his feet were sticking up or something to where a kayaker could see that, and he was pulled. And so I went down that night. I just got my car and took off. My daughter I waited for my husband to get home, and then I left, and my daughter, you know, drove down there and then stayed there probably even an hour, only to find out that we couldn't do the positive identification until we got the dental records. But
even you said to me, you said clothes, you know, African American.
Yeah, the clothes, like he still had his shoes on, you know, he still had his, you know, khaki pants on, had his phone, his charger, and everything was with him. And so that, you know, after the autopsy and everything was done, and we got confirmation at 3:12 on Monday, and then the press release went out at 3:21.
Yeah.
So I originally was livid.
Yeah.
Just because we should have gotten more time. Like,
yes.
We should have gotten more time with the family and let that sink in a little bit before we release it to the world.
Right.
Let's just not be let's be honest. That was extremely disrespectful, and I'm still very mad about that.
Why do you think I'm not going to call this case bungled, because it's hard to say bungled when you don't know what happened to him and then he's found almost 4 months later. But it's been handled so bizarrely.
I don't know. I know it's insane. I don't know. And I've tried to find, like, don't get me wrong, like, I don't get it, and I didn't want it to steer my thought process in a different direction and focus on what they were or were not doing that
right.
I just not understand. I couldn't wrap my head around or do anything about it at that time.
No.
Because I still had a missing kid at that point.
Yeah, you were just focused on him. You weren't thinking about
absolutely.
The inept behavior.
So one door closes and another one opens. And so, you know, the police release that there's no they have no evidence of foul play, there's no trauma, and so I being biased and don't trust anybody but for me to see and hear with my own eyes, I go to the medical examiner's office myself, and I check out the autopsy photos and x-rays and stuff to verify that what the information that was given to me and the family was indeed true. It doesn't show any kind of, you know, any fractures of the skull or anything that would lead into foul play. However, you know, we still have to wait for toxicology to come back, which could take 6 weeks. You know, apparently he's been in the water a very long time. And it's, to me, with the ongoing investigation, like, I'm not stopping and I'm not going to wait 6 weeks.
Right.
To hear that, because to me, the toxicology, I mean, I don't know what that's going to really show much of, besides, you know, it'll show if he was impaired geez, who knows if it'll even show that, because he's been in there for so long. But we'll see. We'll have to see what that says. You know, perhaps maybe he was, you know, I don't know. But I just know that, and I feel in my gut and my heart that this is no suicide.
Well, one of the things that broke my heart in half is when you said Abdi had a big fear of the water.
Absolutely, his biggest fear was water. And that's obviously the way that he died and where he ended up. And and that's not by coincidence. Like, it's just really weird. You know, one of my biggest fears is drowning or getting caught on fire. Like, doesn't mean that I'm going to go kill myself and do it.
Right.
Like, no way. I would not do that. Because
Exactly. Right.
Right. Sorry. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to kill myself, so let me light myself on fire.
Yeah.
But here's my theory, and I'm not saying that, like, once again, the only thing that I can base my theory on is the time from point A to point B. If these pings are accurate in timing, not necessarily location, to me, you still can't get anywhere in the river, near the river from Target, without over an hour walk or so.
Right.
Not in the snowstorm. I mean, mile and a half tops, but it doesn't fit the time frame. And, you know, I feel like he did get in a vehicle, and I doubt that he said to his friend, hey, stop here, I'm going to go jump off this bridge.
Right.
I feel that there was more that needs to be looked into, and it has been expressed to the Des Moines PD, and I'm hoping that they're willing to work with me or listen to what I have to say and have uncovered throughout this investigation before he had came up, you know,
Right.
missing, or not missing, but recovered. So I'm hoping that, you know, moving forward, then that's we can establish that relationship. If not, I'm still going to, you know, if they can give me a different reason to believe that it would be a suicide, then I'm totally open to listening to that. Or if they have a different theory of how he got to point A to point B, I'm open to that as well. But, you know, records don't lie, and I'm just going to, you know, keep going.
You're a burr. You're a burr in their saddle, and they're not going to forget you're there, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna go away, and they need to know that, and they probably do. Maybe that's why things
I think
broke down.
I feel that they want me to, but I don't know why. I think I'm like a kick-ass person, and I think they've had some pretty bad experiences with some PIs in the past. That, yeah, you know, I get that if at the beginning of all of this had started that, you know, it looked anything different than a missing person to them, if it turned where they had evidence to believe that, you know, it was a homicide, possibly homicide somewhere, I'm so open to letting them do their thing and not bothering them. But they've never indicated to me, or the family, especially the family, that it was looked at in any other way other than a missing person.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they have as evidence. I'm sure they've clearly stated that they've spent hundreds of hours on this case. I don't know what they have, but I'm hoping, and I'm currently in the process of writing my case summary, and I'm emailing it to the detectives to see if, you know, just to let them know that here's what I have, and maybe it's somehow connected to what maybe you have or don't have. And, you know, I am here if you have any questions, and, you know, hopefully we'll see what happens in the end. But I just know that I'm willing, and always have been willing, to cooperate and work with the PD, and I understand that there's things that they can't tell me, and I know how this works. It's not my first rodeo. It's just I just want the focus to be on these.
What happened to this young man?
And these kinds,
That isn't.
There's questions, and there's somebody out there that I feel knows stuff, and I will get to the bottom of it. It's going to take. It's just so much little evidence on everything, and so many people have questions, and so do I. But I have no doubt that I won't uncover that at some point. And like I said, I'm hoping that, you know, more hands make light work type of thing, where we can put our heads together and really narrow it down, regardless.
Yes, and
it's not a closed case by far, so we'll see what happens and go from there. But I'm here.
We're going to leave your number as well as the Des Moines PD number at the end of this episode on the outro. And we know, like you know, that there are people who listen and people who, like you said, know. And anyone that knows anything, please call the numbers that we're going to leave for you, whether it's Stephanie, this can be anonymous, or whether it's the Des Moines Police Department. But we all know, more people know what's going on and what happened, and that Abdi didn't end up in the river by himself for no reason. Something happened and others were involved.
Yes.
We are really grateful to have had the chance to talk to you about this case. And I know you're up to your cute little butt that your friend took a picture of and work to do, but we really are grateful we got to talk to you. And I have the feeling we'll be doing an update later on, but thank you for everything you have done. And thank you for doing this case especially. And I'm grateful that you are on this case, because I think you're going to be the key that makes this all come together. So thank you, Stephanie Kinney from C.R.O.W.N Investigations, for being with us. And yeah, thank you for all that you do.
No problem. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for joining us on this episode of Just the Tipsters. And we know that there are still many questions about Abdi's disappearance and him being found. Both of those things have a lot of questions behind them and around them. And if you know anything, if you have any idea what happened to Abdi on January 17th when he left out of Target and was not found until May 2nd, please call the Des Moines Police Department at 515-223-1400 or call Stephanie Kinney at C.R.O.W.N Investigations at 563-206-4778. And more cowbell.
And once again, if you'd like to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.